What are parts of speech? You probably already know that sentences are an important part of our language. They're what we use to communicate. But do you know what they're made of? Today, we're going to learn all about parts of speech. These are like the building blocks of our sentences. What is the function of a noun? The first part of speech we're going to take a look at is called a noun. A noun is a word in a sentence that is a person, place, or thing. Did you know that there are actually two different kinds of nouns? Let's start with the common noun. Common nouns are words that name general or non-specific people, places, and things. This kind of noun is one of the most frequently used parts of speech. I bet you use common nouns all the time. Let's take a look at some examples. Friend, apple, and city are all examples of common nouns. Friend is a person, apple is a thing, and city is a place. Let's check out how we can use these in sentences. My friend and I went to the park. I ate an apple for lunch. There are lots of people in the city. See how easy it is to use common nouns? But not all nouns are things we can see or touch, like the nouns in those examples. Sometimes nouns are ideas. Here are a few examples of these kinds of nouns. Everyone should show kindness. Everyone is a physical thing, and it is a noun. But even though kindness isn't a physical thing, it is still a noun. Let's try another. Friendship brings people together. People is a noun that represents a physical thing, but friendship is a noun that we can't see or touch. It's an idea. Now that we've mastered the common noun, let's learn about another kind of noun, the proper noun. While common nouns are general and non-specific, proper nouns name specific people, places, and things. Because they are specific names, proper nouns are capitalized. Let's take a look at some examples. The new student came from a different country. Country is a common noun because it is general, so it is not capitalized. But if we change the sentence to, the new student came from Brazil, we replace country, a common noun, with Brazil, a proper noun. Because Brazil is a proper noun and a specific name, it is capitalized. Let's do another. Friend is a common noun because it is a non-specific person. But Audrey is the name of a specific friend, so it is a proper noun, which means that it is capitalized. Audrey and I baked chocolate chip cookies. Let's take a look at one more example. City is a common noun because it is a non-specific place. But New York City is the name of a specific place, so it is a proper noun and capitalized. New York City is beautiful and bright at night. Now that we know all about common and proper nouns, let's test what we've learned. Question 1. What is the error in the sentence, there are both deserts and jungles in Africa? A. Deserts should be capitalized. B. Jungles should be capitalized. C. Africa should be capitalized. D. There should not be capitalized. If you said C, the error is that Africa should be capitalized. Great job! You are correct. Question 2. What is the difference between a proper noun and a common noun? A. Proper nouns are more than one word, and common nouns are only one word. B. Proper nouns are specific, and common nouns are non-specific. C. Proper nouns go at the ends of sentences, and common nouns go at the beginnings. D. Proper nouns are non-specific, and common nouns are specific. If you said be, proper nouns are specific and common nouns are non-specific, you got it right. Question 3. Can you identify the proper noun in this sentence? George Washington was the first president of our country. A. George Washington. B. First. C. President. D. Country. The correct answer is A. George Washington is the proper noun. What is the function of a pronoun? Sometimes sentences get jumbled up with unnecessary common or proper nouns, so we need a special kind of noun to help clean them up. These are called pronouns. Pronouns are some of the most helpful tools in the English language. These short words take the place of nouns to simplify our sentences. Pronouns include words such as I, me, you, he, him, she, her, we, us, they, them, it, and others. Pronouns like these replace nouns after they have been used and don't need to be used again. Some pronouns replace proper nouns and some replace common nouns. Let's try swapping some nouns with pronouns to see how they work. When using a pronoun, the sentence, Amber, Josh, and I like ice cream, but Amber, Josh, and I prefer chocolate ice cream, becomes Amber, Josh, and I like ice cream, but we prefer chocolate ice cream. Because the names, which are proper nouns, have already been mentioned once in the sentence, we don't need to say them again. Let's look at the next sentence. We can change Maria, Alex, and Fred like ice cream, but Maria, Alex, and Fred prefer vanilla ice cream, to Maria, Alex, and Fred like ice cream, but they prefer vanilla ice cream. We have already said Maria, Alex, and Fred's names once in the sentence, so we don't need to repeat them another time. And finally, using a pronoun, the sentence Amber, Josh, Maria, Alex, Fred, and I all want to eat ice cream becomes everybody wants to eat ice cream. We have already mentioned everyone's names in the previous sentences, so it's unnecessary to repeat them all over again. See how much shorter and simpler our sentences become when we use pronouns? Instead of making long lists, we save time by replacing them with pronouns. Now that we know how pronouns can take the place of proper nouns in a sentence, let's check out how they can replace common nouns. Here's an example. Ben thought that he had lost his backpack, but then he found his backpack. Using a pronoun, the sentence becomes, Ben thought that he had lost his backpack, but then he found it. We have already mentioned the common noun backpack, so in the sentence, we can replace it with it the second time. Let's look at another one. Anna's favorite sports are basketball and soccer. She loves to play basketball and soccer. Using a pronoun, we can modify this too. Anna's favorite sports are basketball and soccer. She loves to play them. Because we have already mentioned the names of the sports in the first sentence, we can use the pronoun them in the second sentence. We just learned a lot about how pronouns can help to simplify our sentences. Let's review. Question 1. Which part of speech do pronouns replace in a sentence? A. Verbs. B. Nouns. C. Adjectives. D. Adverbs. If you said B, pronouns replace nouns in a sentence, you are correct. Question 2. Which word is the pronoun in the sentence, they decided to take a walk outside? A. Take. B. Outside. C. Walk. D. They. The correct answer is D. The word they is the pronoun. Let's do one more. Question 3. Which word is the pronoun in the sentence, Kara let me borrow a pencil for the test? A, me. B, Kara. C, pencil. D, borrow. If you said A, the word me is the pronoun, you got it right. Great work. What is the function of a verb? Now we know all about nouns, which are words for people, places, and things, like the word cupcake or the name Haley. But we need more than just nouns for our sentences to make sense. For a sentence to be complete, the noun needs to perform an action. For example, Haley eats the cupcake. The part of speech that states an action is called the verb. Can you guess what the verb is in the sentence, Haley eats the cupcake? Because eating is the action that Haley is doing, the verb is eats. Why don't we check out a few more examples? Run is another action word, which means that it's a verb. Marcus runs faster than Michael. Marcus, the noun, is completing the action of running. So runs is the verb. But sometimes it's harder to tell that a word is an action. Did you know that the words is and like are also verbs? In the sentence, Stephanie is a good student. The word is the verb because being a good student is the action. In the sentence, I like my new book. The word like is the verb because liking is the action. Wow, we just learned a lot about how verbs help to complete our sentences. Let's review. Question 1. What type of word is a verb? A person, place, or thing. B, a description. C, an action. D, a name. If you said C, a verb is an action word, you are correct. Let's do another. Question 2. In the sentence, the fat dog chewed on his bone. Which word is the verb? A, chewed. B, bone. C, dog. D, on. If you said A, chewed is the verb, great job. Let's do one more. Question 3. In the sentence, the huge airplane flew through the sky. Which word is the verb? A, sky. B, airplane. C, through. D, flew. The correct answer is D. Flew is the verb. What is the function of an adjective? Now that we have our sentence basics down, let's move on to something a little bit different. Have you ever seen something super cool that you want to describe to your friends? Like a colorful rainbow or a fuzzy hamster. If so, then you've used an adjective. The adjective is the part of speech that describes a noun. An adjective could be a color, a size, a shape, a whole bunch of things. Let's take a look at a few examples. In the sentence, she lived in a blue house. The adjective is blue because it is describing what the house looks like. Did you know that more than one adjective can describe the same noun? Let's check it out. She lived in a tall, blue, wooden house. In that sentence, tall, blue, and wooden are all adjectives because they all describe the noun house. Did you notice that in those examples, the adjectives were next to the noun they were describing? But adjectives aren't always placed right next to the noun they describe in a sentence. Here, I'll show you what I mean. The roller coaster was scary and exciting. Even though scary and exciting aren't right next to the noun they describe, roller coaster, they are still adjectives. They are connected by the word was. Let's look at another one. All the dogs were very small. In this sentence, small is the adjective because it describes dogs, a noun, even though it isn't placed directly next to it. Adjectives are important parts of speech. They make our sentences more detailed and interesting. Now that we know how they work, let's review. Question 1. What part of speech does an adjective describe? A. Verb. B. Adverb. C. Noun. D. Another adjective. The correct answer is C. Adjectives describe nouns. Question 2. In the sentence, the boy saw a huge butterfly. Which word is the adjective? A. Butterfly. B. Huge. C. Saw. D. Boy. If you said B, the adjective is huge, you are correct. Let's do one more. Question 3. How many adjectives are in the sentence, the beach is warm and sunny during summer? A. 1. B. 2. C. 3. D. 4. If you said B, there are 2 adjectives. You got it right. The adjectives are warm and sunny because they both describe the beach. What is the function of an adverb? We've learned that an adjective is the part of speech that describes a noun. But what if we want to describe something else, like a verb or even another adjective? In that case, adverbs can help us out. Adverbs are very similar to adjectives, but instead of describing nouns, they describe verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. Adverbs tell us when, where, how, or to what extent something is occurring. Let's look at a few examples, starting with adverbs that tell us how an action is done. In the sentence, the cat played happily. Played is the verb because it is an action, and happily is the adverb because it describes how that action is done. Let's try another. The family cheered loudly in the stands. The verb is cheered because it is an action, and loudly is the adverb because it describes how the family cheered. Now, let's look at an example of an adverb that tells us when an action is done instead of how. The student came to school late. Late is the adverb because it describes when the student came to school, and came is the action or verb. Now let's check out another adverb. This one tells us where something is occurring. In the sentence, the biker rode uphill. Uphill is the adverb because it tells us where the biker is riding. Now we know all about adverbs that describe verbs. But what about adverbs that describe adjectives? These kinds of adverbs answer the questions how much and to what extent. Let's see how they work. Here are some examples. The weather was very windy. Windy is an adjective because it describes weather, a noun, and very describes how windy the weather was. So it is an adverb. Let's look at another. The student thought the math test was somewhat difficult. Test is a noun that is described by difficult, an adjective. Somewhat describes how difficult the test was. So somewhat is an adverb. Adverbs that describe other adverbs also answer the questions how much and to what extent. Here are a few examples. The teacher talks too quietly. Quietly is the adverb that describes how the teacher talks. And to is the adverb that tells us to what extent she talks quietly. Let's do one more. She danced amazingly well. The adverb well describes how she danced. And the adverb amazingly describes exactly how well. See how important adverbs are? They help us to make our descriptions detailed and clear. Let's review what we've just learned about how they work. Question 1. Which parts of speech do adverbs describe? A. Adjectives. B. Verbs. C. Adverbs. D. All of the above. If you said D, all of the above, you are correct. Adverbs describe adjectives, verbs, and adverbs. Question 2. What question do adverbs that describe adjectives and other adverbs answer? A. Where. B. Why. C. How much. D. When. The correct answer is C. Adverbs that describe adjectives and other adverbs answer the question, how much? Question 3. Which word is the adverb in the sentence, the puppy is sleeping peacefully? A. Peacefully. B. Puppy. C. Sleeping. D. Is. If you said A, peacefully is the adverb, you got it right. Amazing job! Parts of speech review. Congratulations! Now you've mastered all the most important basic parts of speech. Let's review what they are and how they work. Parts of speech are the building blocks of sentences. They are all the different kinds of words that work together to help us create correct, complete sentences. The first part of speech we learned about is the noun, which is a person, place, or thing. Do you remember that there are actually several different kinds of nouns? Common nouns are general, non-specific people, places, and things like boy or baseball. And proper nouns are specific people, places, and things like the name Andrew or the city Paris. Pronouns are words that take the place of other nouns, such as we instead of Rebecca and I or it instead of desk. Pronouns help us to simplify our sentences. Next, we learned about verbs. Verbs are action words that tell us what nouns are doing, like jumping or laughing. We also learned about adjectives. Adjectives help us to describe what nouns are like, such as blue, loud, or smart. Adverbs are very similar to adjectives. They also help us describe other words, but instead of describing nouns, they describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. They tell us when, where, how, or to what extent an action is completed. For example, slowly tells us how something is done, and here and there tells us where it is done. In the sentence, they swim very quickly. Very is an adverb that tells us to what extent they swim quickly. Now you definitely know all the basic parts of speech: nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. You're an expert. Great job. We've learned about what they are, how they work, and why they are so important. Without these parts of speech, our sentences wouldn't be correct and complete. So, next time you read a book or write an essay or a story in school, see if you can identify these important building blocks. Thinking question. Can you create and write down a sentence that has a proper noun, verb, two adjectives, and an adverb